About censorship tools that are being used by Europe and protectionist measures that have major consequences for U.S. companies and free expression worldwide. I'm glad to have you all here to get your views on those issues. Mr. Farage, you've called the Online Safety Act a borderline dystopian censorship regime, and many agree, including myself, that the law badly overreaches. One of the most serious criticisms is that it empowers Ofcom to undermine encryption and open the door to not just government surveillance of posts online and public statements, but private messages, raising alarms not just in the UK, but beyond UK borders. Vice President J.D. Vance has warned this could threaten Americans' privacy as well. Do you recognize that this is not just a domestic issue for the UK, but a global one? And if you become Prime Minister, what assurances would you give allies that the UK will not undermine end-to-end privacy standards?
You have my absolute word that a reform government will repeal the Online Safety Act and will go right back, actually, to legislation back to 2010, under which these whole concepts of hate speech have begun to be interpreted in UK law, and we will do that. Do we want to protect kids? This is the big question. Yes, we do. We need to find means, we need to find ways. I half suggested earlier that hardware could be part of the solution, but yes, we want to protect, to encourage and let free speech flourish.
You've said Reform UK has access to some of the best tech minds to design alternatives. How do you propose to balance protecting children without scanning private messages or weakening encryption?
I think, well, as I said, look, I don't have all the answers to this, but the British Prime Minister says he has got the answers to this. Well, if it's about protecting kids, why does the legislation give Ofcom the most extraordinary and, frankly, arbitrary powers? And why is there the establishment under the Act of an elite police force unit to monitor what is said online? So, it's far better to be honest and say we don't have the perfect solutions than to pretend we have with legislation that is a sledgehammer that misses the nut.
Thank you. Mr. Price, the EU's Digital Services Act imposes liability for so-called systemic risks. How does that chill religious or political speech, and do you see conflicts with First Amendment principles?
That's correct. The systemic risk provision, I think, constitutes a form of content moderation that they're misrepresenting, frankly, in their letters to you.
During the debate, one political leader made a bold pledge. If his party takes power, he promised the Online Safety Act would be completely repealed. According to him, the law gives regulators excessive authority, especially the communications watchdog tasked with enforcing it. He argues that protecting children online is essential, but the current legislation uses what he described as a sledgehammer approach. Instead of blanket surveillance or message scanning, he suggests solutions may involve technology, at the device level possibly hardware-based protections that don't invade personal privacy. The key point he emphasizes is honesty. Policymakers should admit when perfect solutions don't exist, rather than rushing sweeping regulations that may create bigger problems.
See conflicts with First Amendment principles?
That's correct. The systemic risk provision, I think, constitutes a form of content moderation that they're misrepresenting, frankly, in their letters to you. Where the systemic risk provisions talk about, in fact, damage to what they call civil discourse. And we've already seen prosecutions, including clients of ours, who have been prosecuted for, among other things, praying silently, discussing the differences between Christianity and Islam, tweeting a verse from the Bible. So if these constitute systemic risks to civil discourse, the EU has the power in terms of this content moderation provision to step in.
Damage to civil discourse seems a little broad, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Mr. Reid, the EU's Digital Markets Act and the UK's Digital Markets Competition and Consumers Act are sold as pro-competition, but don't compliance costs just burden small app developers?
Absolutely. The problem is that it's interesting, as you talked about, how do you do a better job? You asked, how do we do a better job to protect children? One of the ways we do it is by empowering parents to be good parents. And one of our deepest concerns is by removing some of the capability of the platforms to curate and provide information to parents about what applications do through a clear, forward interface that they see every day that's useful. It makes it harder to parent, harder to know what apps are on your kid's device, and harder for you to control it. So we absolutely see that not only are there problems with it on encryption, which we agree with you 100%, but we also think it weakens our ability as parents to be in charge of the devices our children are using.
Yeah, these rules don't help parents, consumers, if you will. They just shift power from platforms and from parents and from consumers to regulators, correct?
Correct.
Do these regimes create a level playing field for U.S. firms, or do they advantage European competitors at the expense of American innovation?
Well, the original thought behind the DMA was that Europe had not been successful in creating their own industry, as was alluded to by several other members of Congress, and Congressman Correa noted it as well. Europe's economic potential has slowed while the United States has grown incredibly. We've gone from almost equal in 2008 to a 50% increase in the size of the US economy between 2008 and now. And we think a lot of it comes from the small technology companies that have been creating amazing devices, amazing products, amazing applications that you're all using. And we are disappointed that, that there aren't the same opportunities for the US, for our EU members.
Thanks, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentlelady from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, for years, political extremists, including some of our colleagues, have...
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, comment, and hit the subscribe button for more political insights. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, comment, and hit the subscribe button for more political insights.